Hey, welcome to another live optimization. This is part 6 of the live optimization series. Here we are with Alex again, and we have a new invitee here named Caden. He has a roofing company. We're going to get to him in the second half of the weekly installment here. I've been promising that we were going to have some lead generation accounts that we were going to optimize, and finally got the first one on. Thanks to Caden volunteering to come on. So about halfway through, we'll go to him. And Alex is the one with the auto parts business that we've been going through and optimizing his account since the beginning. And Alex has a couple questions lined up already that he would like to ask. But before we get into those questions, Alex, can you give us a 60-second overview of your business again, exactly what you're doing, and what your goals were again?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Alex. We're doing an e-commerce selling car parts to the Swedish market. Currently, we spend about 20k euros per month on Google Ads. The main goal of these streams is to scale the ROAS up at least to break even, get some help with that. Currently, we are sitting about 310%. We did a lot of improvements. This is the 5th week. And yeah, should I continue with the stuff that we talked about the previous week that I implemented?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Let us know what the objective was to change the account and get the ROAS up, and then kind of how it's going.
Yeah, so before we started this, we were about 290% ROAS. Our goal is at least 400, but actually looking at the numbers, maybe I was lying a bit, but because with our current volume of orders, we may need the ROAS to be a little bit higher, so there is more room to improve. Yeah, but we set the goal first of all to 400, and we are slowly getting into it. So in regards to the previous week, on the previous week we talked about again the dynamic campaign that we have set up. We also talked about adding a phone number to the header and the footer. We did that for the footer, so people won't have to click any additional links. They get the phone number right away. Why we did not add the header, the phone number to the header, first of all, is because I actually wanted to talk about this, since our customer support is just for basically people asking you where's their order, how can I order, what can I order, but we cannot provide like actual items or guidelines on how to order, since our customer support is in Swedish and we currently have only one employee that's a female that is speaking Swedish.
Okay. Generally speaking, yeah, I mean, the reason why the phone number works is because it gives the confidence to the user, like I mentioned. But the other thing is, I've seen with our clients over the years, the e-commerce guys that are able to do good phone sales, particularly on anything sold over like $100 price point, or I don't know, whatever the equivalent in Swedish krona would be. But for the most part, those are the people that excel, because that's your differentiation point, really, because otherwise they could just go to, I don't know what the big e-commerce store or outlet is in your country per se, but they could just go there and they're the more trusted brand ultimately. Now, they may not have every part, so I'm not saying that they are, but eventually your goal should be to do that, or train an AI, I would think, to be able to answer questions about, will it work for this vehicle? I know it being in auto parts before, that's like the most common thing, right? Will this part work for my vehicle? And then you got to just, it's like repetitive sort of. I would think that if you had an AI that could answer those type of questions, it would take you a long ways. But anyway, okay, well, we all are working with limited funds and real world constraints at the end of the day, especially when we're starting out. And our goal is to always get to where we have a staff and can do that type of thing. It works tremendously well once you finally get there. And usually business owners are stuck doing it until they're like closer to 5 million a year. Then they can have good, competent, technical people answering the phone and all that. For that matter, so as far as the dynamic search campaign goes, but we were a little bit struggling to get impressions in the beginning. And, of course, the reason why we were doing that to begin with was to get long tail searches, because in the auto part space, you want people looking for a part for a specific make and model of vehicle, certain year of vehicle, ideally a certain trim type. Because when they make that level of search, their level of purchase intent is much higher, and therefore much likely to convert, and therefore much likely to get you a high ROAS on your ad spend. So with all that said, one, is the ROAS getting any higher? I know we basically were barely getting started. So like, how are we going financially wise? Is our sales coming through? Is our ROAS going up? Two, is the search terms report, does it look like it's trending in the direction of more specific searches with the negative keywords that you were trying to add and shape the direction of where the campaign's going?
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm trying to share my screen to allow actually getting into the account, just to show everyone.
Yep. Okay.
It's a bit funky. Yeah, I think I'm showing the full screen. Can you see it?
Yep, we got it pulled up here.
Okay, good. If you would like to check anything, please navigate me. So this month is actually a lot better than February, mostly because that is the worst season in this industry. We're getting a lot more sales. We got a slight dip here, but overall it is pretty consistent. With the dynamic ads campaign that we talked about on the previous week, what you have told me to do is actually go each day in this campaign to the search term reports and exclude all the keywords that we do not want. So basically, the keywords that we want is some kind of a car part plus make and model of the vehicle at least. So I did that, and I'm just excluding irrelevant keywords.
Okay. All right. It looks like your impressions are going up a lot, and this cost is going up a lot, but not many conversions.
Yes, the cost is increasing slightly, a little bit downward here. But yeah, we got only 2 conversions here.
What's the ROAS? Oh, 141. Well,
Yeah.
For that early on, you only spent 40 euros, and to have that's a fantastic sign that this is going to work great. I know it doesn't seem like it now, but 95% of your results come from the racking up of the data over time. So if you're just relentless about the negative keyword addition, this will be a beast of a campaign. Give it 3 to 6 months. You'll see it really come alive. Now, also, I would tell you too, the fact that the spend is going up despite the aggressive addition of negative keywords, that's a great sign as well. Because normally, when you start doing that, and your spend isn't keep growing at the same time, it's discouraging. Not to say it shouldn't stop you from doing that, but the fact that it's going up while you're adding is great. I would presume. It looks like to me you're adding less negative keywords in the last week as a whole. So in other words, you're getting already a higher proportion of long tail keyword searches than you started out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, we can see a lot more the combination that we want, like fuel pump for sub 9.5, this is a lot better than simply these keywords. This is like cheap car parts. It's
Yeah.
always, this keyword is always sneaking into campaigns.
So like I said, it'll, more and more the algorithm will realize what you want and don't want without physically telling them, giving them hard rules, just because they're analyzing what you're adding as negatives and trying to figure out what you're trying to do. They'll have their AI systems kind of analyze what you're trying to do, and then you won't have to add so many. Probably around the 3 to 6 month marks, probably 3 months, I would say. You're not going to have to add very many at all. Or when you do add them, it'll be 10% of the search volume. So there's not much waste there basically. So I would kind of expect that. And the other thing I would do, we didn't talk about it yet because it was kind of jumping the gun, but absolutely when you see something does get a conversion, you should have a separate campaign that just targets that term individually, SCAG. So that's what I always do with these dynamic search ad campaigns, because that's just a way to expand. So the DSA campaign basically tells you what's being searched enough and what's in demand, what's going to drive sales. And then you have your separate campaign that targets them specifically. And then over time, that side campaign does more and more and more. And the DSA just kind of helps you find the terms that are going to get, because as you know, we talked, and as we discussed, you wouldn't want to necessarily target every keyword in this space because most of them aren't going to have the search volume. Google's not going to let you bid on them, unfortunately. However, if they pop up in the dynamic search campaign and they're getting sales, well, then you already know that they're getting searched enough. You can target them. So why wouldn't you target them?
Yes. So yeah, right now we are just waiting for the campaign to improve, doing the negative keyword exclusion. And one note about the conversions: what is difficult with dynamic ads is to actually get a conversion from a search term, since, as you have seen, this campaign has 2 conversions, but they are both in the other search terms report. Yeah.
Just like the other Alex, it's a headache. People complain all the time about that, and they're doing more and more of that. The I mentioned on to the other Alex, I believe it was last week, I said, usually the stuff that shows up in the other search terms are going to be very specific searches, like that only rarely get searched. And so you could kind of assume that, it goes along with what I was trying to basically say is the longer the search, the more profitable it is. Well, unfortunately, the longest ones are going to get hidden. And so all you're going to be able to find that converts and actually shows up is the semi-long ones. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. So we're keeping this campaign as is, and probably, if I'm not mistaken, after 10 conversions, we can put the ROAS target to like normal, because currently it's sitting at 100.
Yeah, right. Just keep it
Okay.
there. And then once, I would say just keep it there for now, especially since you're still adding quite a few negative keywords. Eventually it'll get honed in at around 10 conversions, I would think. In this case, you'll be able to switch it over.
Okay, amazing. Got it. Another thing that I did the previous week is actually, we talked about server-side conversions. I finally made it happen. It's working now. I worked on the server-side conversions, and they are now stable with 10 to 20% uplift than the client-side conversions.
Nice. Let's see
Yeah.
that.
The main question right now is when to switch, as this conversion goal was set up a couple of months before, but the conversion data is quite tainted from the all other months. So I would say probably from the March of 11th to 18, the data should show, yeah, the difference is basically 10 to 20%.
Okay,
if
so there you
if
go,
this
guys.
conversion goes.
There's your proof that server-side tracking works. If you were questioning it, going through the hassle of doing it, the expense of doing it, how much did you spend setting that up with the developer, or did you do it yourself?
Yeah, I'm a developer. I did it myself, but still, if you can spend, I would recommend getting a guy that just does conversion tracking, because I'm a web developer with more than 5 years of experience, and this Google Tag Managers tracking, Stape, server-side containers, all this stuff, there's really not a lot of information, and even for me, I struggled a lot with it, but I finally got it working.
There's just enough information for a smart guy like Alex to get it handled, and good luck for a regular business owner. That also, the tracking stuff, it's just so finicky, and it's like one of those things, like you could read a book on how to fix a car engine problem, but unless you're an experienced mechanic, good luck trying to do it. There's just some stuff you're never going to know until you've done it 100 times. And that tracking stuff, there's just little quirks to it. You're going to drive yourself nuts trying to do it. So give it a shot if you must, but usually it's just easier to pay somebody. And a specialist, I already know, because I went through the gamut with this. If you just hire regular developers, it's hit or miss. And even if they are smart and they are able to do it, it's going to take them so long. Might as well just have an expert doing it anyway. So anyway, thanks for sharing that. And Stape.io is what I would recommend for a non-mainstream platform. Anything mainstream, just try to go with the platform best option. Like for Shopify, you're going to use Analyzify now. That'd be the best one for that. It's not cheap, but by far the best as far as what I've experienced. Anyway, to go back to what you were, I know you had a couple questions. I want to make sure you get time to ask those. So did
Yeah,
you?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right. So another question kind of related to conversions. So here's a little bit of a backstory. When I was setting up the server-side conversions, they were getting a lot more conversions than client-side, but I noticed that we also advertise on Facebook, and if you look at actually in the admin panel, the order amount, the total sales, it kind of does not add up overall between the platforms. And my question is there a way to prevent the platforms from like cannibalizing each other's conversions, or is MER ratio that you talked about the only solution to like actively track the success of advertisement?
Well, so what are the other platforms that you're using to advertise then?
We spend 200 bucks a day on Facebook, and maybe 20 on Microsoft ads, and like 20 on TikTok. I was just testing the waters with those platforms.
Okay, so the best thing to do, Facebook, by the way, now has the view through conversions by default, and you're going to
Yep.
want to switch that off. That'd be the first thing. Secondly, to make sure that there's as little as overlap as possible, you can actually reduce the cookie window length to like as little time as possible on each platform. The problem with that, though, is then you're going to capture less of the data if they only see one ad and click on one ad and then come back and buy later. So it's a give and take there. If I were particularly concerned about it, I wouldn't screw around with the platform tracking. I would have the most data coming in possible, because that's going to be able to train the algorithm the best. I'm going to know that's going to double count conversions. Just keep it in my mind. Like, I'm still going to have to look at MER ratio. And then if you want to know better what's going on, get a program like Triple Whale is what most people are using. Or a Hyros would be the main programs I would recommend, and get your tracking done through there. Google Analytics, obviously you can do tracking of each platform there, but it doesn't have like a long-term attribution window by default. I mean, you could do multi-step tracking there, but it's a little bit, it's not ideal. And the reason why you do these outside programs though is so that you can have a true apples to apples comparison. It's going to treat every traffic source exactly the same as each other, versus each of the ad platforms having its own methodology to do its tracking. And then it gives you a much better read overall, if you will. So I would consider using an outside program there because of this. PWIC is another program you can use that it's not as expensive and a potential solution. That's the main things.
Mm-hmm. I will check it out. So basically what you're saying is the view-through conversions are a scam?
It's not a scam per se in that, okay, obviously Facebook switched to that because they want to juice their own numbers. So people are like, oh, wow, I got a great return. I'm going to keep doing this. That makes obvious sense that they switched to that. So it's a scam in that regard, I would say. But from the standpoint, I still use a lot of view-through conversions because when you're talking about display advertising, that stuff matters a lot. Same thing with YouTube ads. YouTube ads, by the way, you could set up view-through conversion on that. So if they just see the ad and then they buy within 3 days, you can actually count it as a conversion. To me, I want to count those as conversions, knowing that that's not going to give me a true read on ROI, but I want to use it. I'm using the in-platform data to steer the ads. That's what I'm mainly using it for. And I'm using the MER ratio to track my true return on investment and make sure I'm on track financially wise. Because people, I mean, just think about your own purchase activity online. You don't typically buy from the first visit to the site. So, and that's in that, but that's still a click through. There's a lot of times you'll see an ad on Facebook. You watch the video ad, you're not going to click through to the site right then and there. You're going to say, oh, that's interesting, but it's not right for me right now. And then later on, a month from now, when you need XYZ, you got that memory in your head. And then, so therefore, ideally, and I know that attribution only goes so far, so a month wasn't a great example, but I still want to be able to track whether somebody saw the ad and then bought later, because yes, it doesn't guarantee that ad caused that sale, but it at least contributed to it somewhat. Same thing with banner ads. Most people who see a banner ad, they're never going to click through it, but it doesn't mean a banner ad with a good value proposition on it that they see and read isn't going to have some impact on the sale. And so the question is then, how far out do you take it? For me, a few days is okay to take it, but further than that, it doesn't have much use.
Okay, I understand. I will look into the platforms and switch up the Facebook campaigns. Another question, since I have 5 minutes left, what should I do for the next week? My biggest thing that I do not like is that we are spend most of our budget goes to our competitor keyword, which actually works, but still it is really volatile. It is not the best stuff. People mistake us for the competitor, and we would like to advertise on normal keywords with the products plus make and model, all that stuff. What I was doing is we also have this category campaign, which have a bunch of ad groups with different product categories, and I have been slowly taking them out and putting them into their own campaign. An example here, if you can see, oops, yeah, let's not do that. I've got the brake calipers in its own campaign. Wheel bearings went next. And as you have said a couple of weeks before, you want to do it, but you need to spread it out, if I'm not mistaken, every 2 to 3 weeks to minimize volatility on this main categories campaign. What would your advice be for us to do next?
So can you refresh my memory? So we have PMAX, and how is PMAX doing versus search as a whole right now?
PMAX, to be honest, not doing the best this month. It's sitting at 1.4.
And search as a whole?
search is sitting, well, to be honest, whoops. The only thing I know how to check this out is to just select all these search campaigns.
It's one way. Go ahead.
Yeah, 314. Yeah.
Okay, so search is doing much better. So that's what we should try to ramp up first or better. So those breakout campaigns, by the way, they're on mostly manual bidding still or smart bidding?
They're all on target ROAS. Yeah.
Okay. What's your match type?
Phrase match plus exact match only on these breakout campaigns.
Can you open up the keywords? Go to keywords. I want to see what the exact match is doing versus phrase match as a whole. So if you go to the keyword menu,
would you like to check the biggest categories campaign?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I was going to say overall, but that's okay too.
Yeah, sure. And
so add filter, match type. Oh, wow, you really know what to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we got ROAS wise? Now I want to go further out. Go back like a couple months.
Let's say 60 days.
Okay.
And we have our conversion value cost. Yep, here it is. For the exact match, we have 2.
And for the phrase, we got 3. Or
if we switch it up. Yeah, 3.2.
Okay, so potentially the phrase match is bringing in some long tail keyword searches, which would be why that would realistically be giving you a higher ROAS itself. I think I need to go through. If I were you, I would go through the search terms data and figure out the terms that convert, why they're converting. What's the similarities in the terms that are converting that make them all similar? How can you pin it down to something? Does it have a year in there somewhere? Does it have an engine size in there? Analyze it at some level and try to come to a conclusion on what out of the stuff that is producing a 4 return or greater, why is it producing it? So that we know how to add additional keywords that'll focus in on that precisely. That would be one thing. In addition to this, I think also what we need to do is for like the brake caliper, like if you have a campaign that sells the brake calipers,
Yep.
Try to find all the brake caliper category pages on your local competitors in your country there. I'm sure there's probably several other bigger auto part stores that you're competing with. And find the exact URL to the page on those sites that market the brake calipers as a whole, and then create a custom intent audience that has all those in it. And then from there, add it to the, like, I think you had the brake caliper campaign, right? That's your main breakout campaign that you had.
Yeah.
If it's not, whatever top one it was, apply that audience to the campaign at the audience level. Make sure instead of under the audiences, it's set up for targeting versus observance. And we'll see if that helps steer it at all versus the way that it is right now. Normally, Google says that on smart bidding, they're going to ignore the audiences, but I've kind of found that they'll use it to a little bit. So I don't know if that'll help that campaign out at all. Get to the, like, from a 3 to a 4. So those are the two things I would try to do over the next week to get things to work. One thing also, by the way, and I mentioned, I think on this live series one other time, how with the search terms report, you can also filter all your search terms by individual word. So ultimately, you could, if somebody used the word best, whatever, however you say that in Swedish, you can see if anything with the word best in it has produced above or below a 4 ROAS, if you will. And then if it looks like every time it gets searched, it's never getting a sale, potentially we are going to be able to add best as a negative keyword. I don't know if that'll be useful in our case. We bottom line need to figure out where you've got enough data at this point to figure out what's actually producing the 4 ROAS, what is not. You've got to be able to study that data and figure out where the waste is and where there's not, specifically on the search level, so that when you set up these search campaigns and you try to build them out, you only go after the section that's working. I presume you're going to find something, if you study hard enough, that pretty much everything with a year in it produces a good return. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You got to be able to figure that out, I think, at this stage. That's what I would focus on. And if you can't find anything, we'll find something else to get us to the next level. But, and I would study, it would be a game changer if you could already get to study the data and figure that out.
Yep, that would be my goal for the next week. Yeah, I think we got actually no time left, so I'll see you next week, Corey, and we'll switch it up.
Yep. Okay. Well, good luck with that, and I'll see you next week, Alex.
Yep. Thank you. See everyone.
See you later. Thanks for coming. Hi, Caden. Your microphone is muted, by the way.
We should be good now. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Caden. How you doing?
I am doing good. Excited to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to kind of sit down with you and talk through a couple things.
Yeah, absolutely. Caden is a roofing guy, and I got personally a lot of experience in the roofing space, so I'm sure we're going to be able to provide him a lot of good value in our optimization here. Caden, though, how about you just tell us real briefly about your company, like, how long you've been in business, what you specialize in, if you have an area of specialty, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess at heart, I'm not a roofer. My background's actually in technology and cybersecurity. I joined a private equity-esque firm where we worked with roofing companies over the course of several years. They saw really, really good success, and then we kind of approached an investor, got together some different team members, and started this venture. So we've been in the roofing space for about 3-4 years, but this company is essentially brand new. So we're kind of starting from the ground up on things. But that's a little odd, but I've had experience running Facebook ads, Meta ads, Google ads off and on since about 2019. I would say that I'm not as familiar with like the latest changes over the last year with Google, but nevertheless, I've had a little bit of experience with it. So,
okay, so where are you at with your Google ads then? Currently,
so they've been running for the last month or so. Got some conversions, some things like that. We had a sale from one that came from the direct conversion of one of these things. So I'm just trying to dial it in. I don't really know the best strategy. It's a little bit more of a competitive market, I would say, where we're at up in Boise. And I can share my screen and we can kind of take a look at some things if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I was just you read my mind. I was just getting ready to share what your site looked like.
Can you see this?
Yeah, we're pulling it up now. Yep, we got it here.
Cool. So we recently paused this as we were going through, like I literally paused this yesterday and didn't realize that we were going to be going through this today. So I have anticipations of turning things back on. It's just paused for a second. But anyways, and then I have the kind of the landing pages pulled up here, mobile and desktop also. So I'm happy to go through and kind of walk through everything. The site's custom. I built it. We're using Stape for server side conversions. Every phone call we get, I don't count as a conversion unless we've marked it in Go High Level as qualified. We get some conversions or potential calls from people looking for like materials, and we're not a material supplier, so I don't want those to count as conversions. So these 4 conversions are what we consider qualified conversions, where they were looking for our services, and we actually went out there. So
how are you sending the qualified lead data to Google Ads? I'm curious.
So through CallRail, I have an automation that submits it. It's a webhook that sends all the data into Go High Level, and then once that Go High Level individual, all their information gets added, like name, phone number, email, address, etc. They tag it qualified. It runs through an automation that shoots it off to Stape, and then Stape sends it to Google.
Wow,
that's the conversion.
Guys, I just want a quick comment about this. A lot of guys that come in through our doors, they will have like a Go High Level or a Service Titan or a House Call Pro, some industry CRM, or maybe HubSpot, and they want to send the data there and then try to get the data back to the ad account. And ultimately, in my opinion, that's not the way to go. It's to do what Caden did here and send it through a specialized tracking program like CallRail. CallRail is the one I would recommend, but I'm a bit biased towards that because I'm the most familiar with it. I don't get paid by them or anything, but it's been working for us for over 10 years. And then you, like him, you could use the webhook, the API, whatever, to send the data to the platform. And actually, CallRail is getting more and more integrations with CRMs, direct integrations, so that you can actually send the data without having any special technical expertise. But that is because ultimately, the data does not flow very cleanly through the CRM and then back very well. Anyway, it's much better to go through CallRail and then send it to your CRM. You can do everything you want to do. It's also reliable at the same time. It's extra step and extra cost, but it's worth it. So anyway, that all said, where do you think is your main bottleneck, Caden? So first of all, I always tell people that come to me and they have issues with their lead generation accounts, I say, what's the main issue? Are you not getting enough leads, or are the leads as a whole too crappy, or some combination thereof?
No, yeah, I wouldn't say the leads are crappy. Our cost per conversion is really high. I would say that this is like a cost per qualified lead, if you will. It's super high. And originally when we started out, I mean, our clicks were north of like it was like $80 to $120 a click. Right now, I think we're sitting at about an average of 55. So it's gone down significantly, and I would say that those cost per conversions are probably high because of that. So I would say it's just like we are willing to spend more. Like originally, we were spending around $500 a day. And then we kind of pivoted as LSA started to work. As a new company, it's really hard to get running on LSA, as you know, or at least hard to get showing up on LSA without a ton of reviews. And so LSA has started to work for our citing portion of things. I'm not running citing keywords. I'm just running roofing keywords. So I would just say just like overall lack of maybe a little bit more insight and direction and keywords and kind of some landing page optimizations just to make sure that I'm doing everything possible to get good qualified leads. Obviously, the only leads that I want are roof replacements, but I understand that that's not necessarily going to be the case all the time. So I would say that we're just looking for, more qualified leads, and we are willing to spend more. I had the money to spend more. It's just a matter of making, like, I don't want to spend more and then waste, like one of the keywords, I think we but it was like spent like $3,500 and it was, 0 conversions. So just, I want to make sure everything's solid before kind of be willing to spend more, if that makes sense, so that those things don't happen. I understand that it's going to take 3, 4, 5 months before this actually starts to really flourish. But anyways,
Yeah.
I don't know if
One
that
thing
answers your
about the
question.
roofing space, one thing about the roofing space that a lot of people don't recognize, some do, some don't, is the fact that everybody wants the roof replacement. They don't want to screw around with leak repair and all that stuff. But about a third of the roof repair leads turn into a roof replacement. So if you overlook them, then you're not going to get a bunch of the roof replacement jobs. And obviously that number, I might be a bit off on that in terms of the ratios, but the point is the cost per lead is going to be less on those as well. So it's a great mechanism to get the installation, roofing install jobs too. So, but apart from that, what market are you in? What city or what
Boise,
major?
Boise, the greater Boise, Idaho area.
Okay. So it's an area that, that's what, close to probably $1 million somewhere.
Yeah,
in there.
it's around 1.1, 1.2, the greater area. So it's a good market size.
So that in that type of market, it's going to be a lot easier, a lot quicker to win. If you're in the bigger the area, the longer it's going to typically take for it to initially work. That said, we've recently worked in smaller cities like what you're in, and it still takes 6 to 12 months to hit profitability because of, super high net worth area. And therefore there's people willing to throw more money at it basically. So I would think in your type of area, it's going to be low to moderate in terms of the time it takes. So you might be able to get it profitable in 3 to 6 months already, like what you were saying. And then, so with that said, next step is, what do you think the main bottleneck is? The click-through rate being low or the conversion rate being low? What are you at on those two main key metrics?
A click-through rate on average, and I'd say it's improved since the beginning of March. But I mean, it's we can click into the individual ad groups because I think one's different than the other. But CTR is around 3 to 4%.
Okay.
CPC is at a good spot, I would say, and our conversion rate is just pretty low. I mean, I've seen conversion rates north of 10% on these campaigns, and it's probably just dialing in the ad copy as well as the keywords. I would say one specific keyword that spent quite a bit was this Boise roofing contractors, which I didn't do enough research to understand that there's a company literally called Boise Roofing Contractors, and so I'm pretty sure that like a lot of that went there. So I mean, you could see that was like the bulk of our spend with this specifically, and this is in our generic. I just have 2 ad groups. One's roof replacement, and then one's just generic. And generic meaning like roofing company near me, or roofing contractor near me, or roofing contractor in Boise. And then, obviously roof replacement's more specific there. So I really don't know if I understand CTR plays into the metrics, but I mean, I'm willing to spend $1,200 to acquire a customer, or $1,500 to acquire a customer, or even, more, knowing that I'm going to make 6, 7, 8 grand in profit on a particular job. So I'm not really worried about like cost per lead being high. I'm just more concerned about my customer acquisition cost over really any metric.
Well, in the roofing space, the average from what I've seen with other clients is about 1 in 5 of the leads will turn into a job if you've got average sales processes. So in order to get 1,200 a job, you need to be at around 250 per lead.
Mm-hmm.
To get to 250 per lead, you're going to need your conversion rate to be, around 15%, more than likely. It depends on the rate of what the competition driving up the average cost per click in your market. And when you start out, you're going to be at a high cost per click. And then if you've set up your everything right, it'll come down. And you can see in Google Keyword Planner, the high end and then the low end of the range. And that's going to tell you kind of like what you're shooting for. So I know that doesn't really say per se. There you go. So you can see there where it says on the high end, and that's got your location set up right. Okay. So on the high end, it's like 70 to 100 somewhere. And on the low end, it's closer to 25. So you can see how much of a difference that'll make on your cost per acquisition being on the high end or the low end. So what the mistake, so on the conversion rate, given that that's your weak point, that's still, you're on the right track when you said it could be down to the traffic quality. So it's either the traffic quality that's your bottleneck there or the landing page. I already had a peek quickly about, on your landing page because you had it pop up there for a second. We'll look at that in a second, but generally speaking, also in the roofing space, it used to be you could get by pretty well with phrase match. It wasn't running so wild as it is recently. I always start with exact match first because Google's going to go crazy with the phrase match and get you poor quality traffic. I mean, you can get it honed in with enough negative keywords, but if you start out with exact match and then you just add a ton of keywords so that you don't have to use phrase match to then have every single keyword, then you won't get the poor quality traffic. Now, it all depends on if you go into your search terms report there and you see some irrelevant stuff, then you got to make a change. If it's not a problem, I wouldn't necessarily change what you got because then you can still use the data that you accumulated on your existing keywords so far. So if we look at the highest searched keyword there, roofing companies, Boise, roofing companies near me, roofing near me.
You're going to click into it?
No, I can see this. Okay. For the most part, this looks pretty clean and doesn't look like it's a major issue. Now, I didn't go through the entire list, and some of those that got one click, maybe there's some irrelevancy there. But for the most part, it looks clean enough to where that doesn't seem like that's your main bottleneck. So you said your conversion rate was what was it again?
I think it was an average of, it was around 4%.
Okay. Actually, by the way, that is not too low for a starting account. And the reason for that is just because also people don't understand how Google system kind of screws around with you nowadays. They're going to give you the poor quality section of the traffic at the beginning until you've proven yourself. They literally will take a keyword like roofing company near me. They know what portion of that traffic converts well, and then they're going to give that portion of that traffic that converts at the highest rate to their top guy that have been around. They know how they work. They know they get a good experience for their users. They got good reviews. They check your reviews as well on your Google business profile. And then you get the poor quality portion of the traffic, which will lower your conversion rate. So at the beginning, you're fighting your way through this to prove yourself as better than the competition. And then eventually, once they see you are, they give you a better portion of stream of the traffic. And instead of converting at 4%, you could literally have changed nothing about what you're targeting, and it could go up to 15, 20 eventually. So that said, let's look at your landing page. Okay, so just give me a second to look at and analyze it, what you got here. Can you scroll down? Just slowly scroll all the way through it. Okay. Okay, go to the top again. Does the whole website have a black theme like that?
This is just due to system preference. It'll change to white if somebody's got a white preference.
Got it. Normally that black is not great for a home service company. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it'll go to white.
Okay.
Like if you pull it up right now and you've got a white, it should go white. but I can always change it. Like it's compatible with both, right? Everything will switch back and forth.
Okay, and this is just you have one landing page for everything. All
No, this one's the generic one.
So you got different ones for different cities?
It's not going to different, like, no, I guess like this one's just targeting all of Treasure Valley, which is the two counties, which is, the greater Boise area. So I can do that. I thought just a little bit more complex. So instead of saying Treasure Valley, you're saying do like Boise and then only run those ads in Boise zip codes.
It's not going to be a huge game changer in our case because the area is not gigantic, but one easy way to get the conversion rate up will be any area over 50K population, you have its own campaign just for that so that you can have an ad that's local and a landing page that's local so that they know you're a local, you service locally at the very least. So that's one thing that I would do when you restart so that you can get a higher conversion rate quicker.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Each campaign has its own. Each city has its own campaign as long as there's over 50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, if they're not in a 50K, then you just can send them to this Treasure Valley one. Right. And, and when you set up the campaigns, you negate out the area. So like I call it a catch-all. So the catch-all that covers the entire area that you're covering now would negate out the areas in which you have separate campaigns, if that makes sense. So that way the right campaign triggers for the right person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Apart from that, this landing page, the main thing that it's missing is your average review ratings. I always tell, because people, that really tells more than anything to the user right away, like what your rating is on Google, what your rating is on Yelp, what your rating is on Nextdoor. I don't know where you're reviewed at, but literally below, before you start scrolling, or as they call it, above the fold, you want to have typically your reviews there. Now on mobile, it may be hard to get it all fit within there, but that, 5-star roofer and all that, I would potentially take those on mobile, take those out, and then just put two things in there. One that says like 4.7 Google, 4.3 Nextdoor, something like that, because that's going to tell the user a whole lot more than what those icons tell them now. And in fact, that's so small, they're not even going to see and read it anyway. And then secondly, I would test just that one change first. And so overall isn't too bad. Can you go back to desktop again? Do obviously the same exact thing I said on desktop to this.
Right.
And then on the desktop, I would, where it says get your free roof assessment up in the upper there, I would have the telephone number underneath that button, because most people are going to go in the upper right of the screen to look for the phone number. And if they don't find it there, it's going to cause confusion.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, you can keep that there.
Locations?
Yeah, you can keep it where it is now. Just add it in that upper right section as well, because their default place they're going to check is right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's shoot, what else was I going to say in regards to this? Oh, the instant quote section, we found that that's really working well in the roofing space now. So that's good that you added that. Make sure you have your tracking set up to track the ones that go through there too. I don't know if you do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that you can also test is on the top of the page. I wouldn't do it right away, but after the stuff I already mentioned you test that and you verify that it works. Then go ahead and try to make one at the top instead of I guess if you click on get your free roof assessment, does that take you down to the quote thing? Yeah. Okay. So with that said, what I would go back to the top again for that button, instead of saying get your free roof assessment, I would potentially test get a instant quote, because it's going to tell you roughly what it costs, right? Am I right there?
Yeah, it's not like Roofle, but we have an automated system in the background that pulls the measurement, and within half an hour to an hour, we'll give them a quote. So it's not exactly like Roofle, but or one of those platforms.
I still think that they'll click through that at a higher rate if you do that. And then, of course, if you do that, when it scrolls down to the section down below, you just got to make sure the language matches. So it's got to also say, get your instant quote above, so that they know, that text above, in other words, find out what your roof really needs. Get your instant quote is what you would change that to as well.
Okay.
Apart from that, those are the main things I would work on first and get out of the way. And then, a lot of it, though, comes down to, just to sum this up, you're not doing everything too bad overall. It's just, this stuff will certainly help, but there's no shortcutting the process. Everybody, automatically thinks they've failed when they launch their ads and they're not getting a $250 lead cost right away. And you got to get your cost per click down to get it. And you got to get Google to give you the higher portion, a higher quality portion of the traffic. And that might take 3 to 6 months to fully get. Important thing is when you do it, you got to commit to the process. You can't start and you can't stop. And you got to be thinking about it as if this takes 6 months to get to 250. It does, because you got to build up your quality scores. You got to build up your reputation with Google, and then you'll get it.
Okay. Yeah, which makes sense. I'm familiar with that part of it. It's just good hearing that everything, at least, is it's going in a good direction.
The other, thing about roofing, I have to wrap this up because I have another call here. But another thing about roofing is there's so many keywords. There's close to 1,000 keywords that I found in the roofing space to target altogether. And, in general, the tighter matching your ad is to the keyword, the better the click-through rate. And that higher click-through rate will make sure Google gives you a lower cost per click sooner. We'll talk more about that next week if you are able to come back. And I'll go and I'll show you kind of how I've done that in the roofing space before.
Okay.
Because there's already a big difference also. We didn't even get into it, like, repair versus installation. I don't even know if you want to go that route. I talked to you why I would, but, just these little nuances. But we'll go into more next week if you come back.
Okay, cool. Yep, sounds good to me. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for coming. And okay, guys. Well, there you have it. We have our first live optimization with lead generation involved. We'll add another lead gen guide next week. Hopefully, I'm still juggling this process. I'm also getting into using. We're going to have higher resolution on the screen shares as well. We're going to be using OBS screen sharing software versus StreamYard, and get high resolution so you can see all the details in the account versus a broad overview. It's kind of fuzzy. Anyway, thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you next week. And by the way, Flame and Anvil, Anthony, thanks for coming as well. Thanks for commenting. I appreciate, Anthony, that you appreciate the series, and it's encouraging as well. One thing before we go to as well, crew is the best part of the week. I would like some feedback as well. One other thing I was going to add to the series was doing a review of other influencers' content. Would you guys like me to review other people talking about ads and then commenting on what they say works or not? I've been on the fence about it, because then it's like, is it right to criticize somebody else's work? Because in this game, there's never a perfect textbook way to do anything, right? It's kind of sort of your opinion at the end of the day. I mean, there's stuff that generally works, so it's not just, you know, a monkey throwing a dart at a dartboard and then just hoping it works. But anyway, I'm thinking about doing this. You saw Caruso, I guess you agree. Well, I'm going to try to line some up and test that out and see if you guys like it as well. So we already got good feedback. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next week. See you later.